Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, your your agent of awesome, and also the host of the pod of Zenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. Nah, we're doing it live today. No retakes. Today we're going to be talking about the fourth Godzilla movie from 1964, or let's see, 1964, both here and there. I think it was released in the States. Yeah, I mean, I got it pretty quick. Of course, uh, it was helped into production, I believe, by Henry G. Saperstein. Be that as it may, it was released in Japan in on April 29th, 1964. Runs 88 minutes. Runs a little longer, almost just a tad longer in the U.S. version, which is what we will be reviewing. And of course, when you see that, you just know it's going to be good. This comes from a reconstruction, a 4K reconstruction, so it should look pretty darn good on here. And you all know the story, so really we're just going to go through some of the cool and interesting things the things that I think are interesting. The Peanuts get their own credits with all of this there. It's a great cast. I mean, even the trailer is pretty good. Now, sure, the title's a bit misleading. Thank you, AIP. And we'll talk about that because of how it misled this young fan when he was a young agent. Shinichi Sekizawa, and of course the man, Eiji Tsuburaya. Tetra Sound Studios and Toho Scope, and directed by that Inoshiro Honda guy again. But that's okay. He did great work in whatever name he's called, as long as it's Honda-san. So we start out with a flood, and this goes on a little longer than it probably needed to, but it's gorgeous. I bet seeing it on the big screen, you probably would have thought it was real. The next day with these toys, now I'm sorry, they're so bright and colorful. They look great, but they do not look the least bit real. Reporters are there covering all of the. This trailer is way out of sync with everything here. They're covering all the damage, and there's a politician there who. Let me look there, see if we can find the politician's name. I don't know. Anyway, that's Akira Takarada as Ichiro Sakai, and Yuriko Hoshi as Junko Nakanishi, his photographer, who he berates on a regular basis. And I don't know who that's not Emamoto, the villain. It might be, no, I don't know who that is. Sorry. Junko is taking a picture of this strange object here, which then Sakai just picks it up with his bare hands. Look at all those phones, and they're all ringing. They all have the same ringtone. That's just amazing to me. Smoking away in a busy city office, a newspaper office, a city room there. So there's our egg-loving. That might be you, Fujiki as Jiro Nakamura, who the eggs is a running joke with him. He's always eating eggs, and he's more afraid of the boss than Godzilla. Giant egg drifts into the harbor. This is just, no, these are obviously miniatures. The egg's a little out of scale, but that's all right. What are you going to do? So there's nice. These are probably American inserts. I haven't seen the Japanese version in quite some time because since it's almost exactly the same, what's the point? It sure would have been nice to see a Daily Bugle, but that's all right. I mean, you've got what is that? The Maicho Daily. So here's a nice process shot. I mean, that's obviously not a real egg or even the model. I think it's just a painting, but it looks great. I mean, this movie is memorable for the effects and the sheer amount of effects and how good they are. And yeah, it gets a lot of praise, but it deserves a lot of praise, except for one thing, and we'll get to that. Yes. So our scientist there is Hiroshi Koizumi as Professor Shunsuke Miura. Mira, who is irascible, but Junko talks him into asking a question. There's Kumiyama. Boo. No, that's not. That's Torahata. Boo. Both of them are boo. Kenji Sahara as Jiro Torahata, the secondary villain of the piece. Greedy businessman. And he goes to meet. It's nice, just a nice looking. It's probably shot in a real hotel. There is uh, Hoshimi Tajima as Kumiyama. Boo. He is the villain of the piece, really. Just a master exploiter. He's going to build Kumiyama Land or some such nonsense and hatch the egg. And there's all of his millions and billions of yen, which lead to his ultimate demise. The love of money, right? The twins, the fairies, the Shobijin, Emi and Yumi Ito, show up. They, aside from telepathy, I'm quite convinced they have the power of teleportation. It's never stated, but the way they disappear because these two dinks, Kumiyama and Torahata, try to capture them, and they just disappear. And then the next thing we see, they're out there in the forest talking to our three heroes. The reluctant scientist, Shinsuke. Shinsuke is now part of the trio. They tell him what happened, that Mothra's egg washed off, and the old one's going to die. The new one's going to show up. There's a gigantic egg. There's no way in hell that's a moth egg of any kind. I mean, I thought I read once in GFan that Toho's official stance was the Earth provides the egg for the reincarnation of Mothra. There's our Mothra marionette, which is gorgeous. A little smaller than the one in the first movie, but it's huge. I mean, if you think the Godzilla outfit's probably close to 6 feet tall, this one is probably even bigger. I mean, lengthwise, widthwise. The incubator made out of glass, although it really looks like cellophane. Sorry, guys. But it looks great. Nice close-up of Mothra. I don't know why that's there. But another process shot with the people there looking at the miniature. Lots of people. And then now the villagers want their money from Kumiyama, who has to go to Torahata. Nope, they want it from Torahata to get it from Kumi, and he has to go to Kumiyama to get it as an advance against his profits. What a tangled web they weave. More comedy with the egg and the gruff chief or the editor. And now it turns out that our heroes are radioactive because they touched this thing, which, as we surmise, is a scale from Godzilla of some kind, even though it's never actually stated what it is. But it's radioactive. So they go back out, see if they can find. They're showing the professor where they found it, and they can't. And it's all dry now. And there's nothing else there. It's not radioactive, which means I don't know that Godzilla's radiation stays unless it's part of him. It doesn't contaminate that unless it's like the surrounding area. But a contaminated living tissue, maybe, I don't know. She's telling him the ground is moving, and what's coming, what's going to happen here. And this is one of Godzilla's great reveals in all of the movies. Yeah, it's hard to say there's a better one, although I really like the one from Godzilla versus the Sea Monster where he explodes out of the side of the mountain. However, we know he's there. And also the reveal from the iceberg is also great. The reveal from the first movie. There's a lot of great reveals. The Geiger counter's going crazy, and then the tail springs up. And the touches here, he shakes the dirt off. He's not just super clean as he comes up. And he shrugs. He looks like an animal. Nakajima-san was very good about not trying to look like a man, just a man in a suit walking around. And everyone's running. Woo, 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 woo. Tell me that's not a malevolent stare. I know that he just woke up and he's sleepy and the world has changed yet again since last year. But that it's a subtle malevolence, but it's malevolent. That Godzilla is one malevolent being. Here's a nice process shot, and that's a model of Godzilla. That's not actually Nakajima-san in the suit there. Looks good. First use of the atomic breath. Tower falls on him. People still running. It's kind of a fuzzy picture there. This one is process shot, but you not the best one because you can see that there's blue bleeding through here and there, but it's so quick. Unless you've watched the movie several times, you wouldn't even notice. Crashes into the castle yet again. Any castle in Japan should probably have just been taken down.
It looks innocent as a gigantic egg, but its unseen powers are so great that its worshippers beg the thing's indulgence in self-abasing ceremonies.
I guess the thing was more marketable than calling it Godzilla versus Mothra or the giant moth. We're lucky they didn't redub Mothra into Mothster or something like that, I suppose. But the thing, I mean, it's a little out of place, but it works well enough. It's not that big a deal, I don't think. They're talking about the Frontier missiles. This is the part that was shot for the U.S. Movie, which is really well done. It's at night, and they shoot off these things, and the explosions, and they don't work. They think they do, but Godzilla just gets right back up and says, "Hold my beer." And I just like the way this is lit. The shot with in either the evening or the sun rising, land of the rising sun, probably dawn. And off they go to Infant Island, or Mothra Island, as they say. There it is. And they land, and there's boiling water, or just it looks gross. And all these skeletons. Although I've never seen a turtle skeleton that could bob its head before. And then the natives surround him, and they make him drink this juice. There's our chief. I think that's Ikio Sawamura, but he's dubbed into English, or probably, and they should have said this, that the fairies were translating telepathically for our heroes. There's the drink. I think he had like 4 shots of it. There they are. Where do they get such lovely outfits? I mean, who makes these things for these women? They're very stylish. They're going to ask Mothra to help them defeat Godzilla. And they're saying, no, Mothra is dying. If it goes, it's not coming back. But you didn't help us get the egg back. That was what they were there to see, which I just, you'd think that people in Japan would stop when something giant shows up that could hatch into something even bigger. Send it back. Mothra says, okay, we'll go. And I believe that the girls just teleport onto Mothra and go. They're building traps for Godzilla, the artificial lightning, which is really a wonderful sequence. Meanwhile, Kumiyama and Torihata come to blows. That's Torihata getting pummeled by, geez, I can't keep them apart. Torihata pummels Kumiyama and then thinks he's done, but he wakes up, sees Godzilla, shoots Kumiyama dead, and then gets crushed. And, I think in a way it's very poetic that nobody knows what happened to these two. I mean, they probably surmise that Godzilla crushed them all and probably lit everything on fire as he walked by. And all that money did nothing to protect them. Nothing. So guess what time it is? It's time for Godzilla to fight the mighty thing, or Mothra, because he's menacing the egg. There's no reason is given why he's menacing the egg, at least not in the American dub, the US dub. He just goes after it. I mean, is he hungry? Does he sense its arrival? I mean, they could have said something like that. They did that with King Kong and Godzilla. They could have done it again. Mothra shows up. Lovely scene. There's the twins. They even have, they got feathered boas there? I mean, down would be everywhere if there were birds on the island. Godzilla's annoyed at Mothra, and it's really it's a very interesting fight. You see one similar with Rodan, except Rodan's doesn't look nearly as fragile as Mothra does, but Mothra is pretty darn powerful. And there's a nice shot of different sized Mothra model pulling a Godzilla model who claws frantically at the ground. Nice. I don't even know how they did this because Godzilla's ducking and the marionette's flying over. Where's the tail wire? The amount of wires on it, there's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 8, and possibly 10 on Mothra alone, and 1 or 2 with Godzilla's tail. It's astounding. It's amazing. Mothra is releasing the poisonous yellow dust, which has now become a catch-all, and it gets all glittery and powdery when you see it in the newer movies. And there's a nicer shot. Plus, you've got the civilians and the army running around. Real, that's a really nice process shot, actually. Like the setup. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So well done. Honda's such a great director. I know that's kind of redundant, but it's true. Unfortunately, Mothra takes a blast right, a atomic breath blast right to the face, flies off, and dies. Now they're like, "Well, he's got to beat him." And the twins are the Shobijin are saying, "No, no, not going to happen. Mothra's dead." They refer to Mothra as he the entire time, but even I've given up on that. Mothra is dead. She's gone. Another meeting of the military minds who are planning the Operation Electric Storm or something. I don't know. I love this. This is nightmare fuel shot. Look at that. I mean, there's fire all around in the night. And yeah, I mean, and there's the suit catching on fire, which they left in because Ishiro, or not, Ishiro thought it looked good. I think. I know Subaraya did, and I'm sure they were right there to put it out, but so it didn't burn. I mean, his head's down in the throat, so he probably wasn't even aware that he was on fire at that point in time. And now they're going to hatch the egg. So the singing has begun. This goes on a minute. It fades in and out. It's really well shot, but it does last. I remember reading in JFFJ a review of Godzilla versus the Sea Monster and how they thought Mothra was rather a neglectful god if it would not go and help its worshippers right away. So take that for what you will. Here's the helicopters dropping the nets. There's 4 in total, and there's the zappy zaps. And the animated is the rays are great, and I mean Godzilla zaps. Finally, they overload it, and he also melts one and stops it. Godzilla triumphant. That's a great picture if it had just been a little clearer. But it's hard to get action shots in this, much like kung fu movies. Here's he just melts a tank, which I believe is recycled from last season, last year's King Kong versus Godzilla. And now the bad guys are dead, and Godzilla's just wandering away toward the sea. And of course, unfortunately, some children and some teachers are there, and this guy is telling everyone, "We got to rescue him." And they're like, "You crazy?" But Godzilla will step on them. He doesn't even know they're there, but he knows that these boneheads are there, and they leave. So, I mean, I'm not exact. This whole ending could have been much better had either the two villains decided to team up and leave and get on a boat, and they're holding the kids hostage. Everyone finds out they're the bad guys that they are. One turns on the other. Doesn't even matter who kills whom at that point in time, because the twins hatch, the twin larvae, and for some reason Junko is afraid of them, but they're kind of cute in a grubby sort of way. But they're grubs. Anyway, there's our kids that could have been held hostage and then involved the bad guys so that it was a nice wrap up and given them a reason to have to go save them. Set the grubs out to get Godzilla to distract him while they go rushing in. And then when Godzilla falls over, as we'll see, he could have landed on him, sploosh. Bad guy's dead. Godzilla's incapacitated. What do you want? It's just, I've always thought that would have been a better ending. But that's of course 50 years of hindsight, 60 years of hindsight. So, they did it's a fine ending. It's just is a little unresolved and doesn't even involve any of the main characters at all, except for Godzilla and the grubs. Speaking of the grubs, when your humble agent saw this for the first time, the blurb in the TV guide said, by the way, 4 super monsters battle for supremacy over the Earth. I remember it. I remember it very well. And I was thinking, I think I'd seen Godzilla versus Megalon. I want to say I had, but, I'd seen something, and I thought 4 super monsters. I knew one was Mothra, and I knew one was Godzilla, but there were 2 more super monsters showing up. And then I'm watching it, and I keep waiting, and then it's grubs. There they are. It's a great trailer. It really is. You'll see it at the end. I thought there was some more narration, but maybe there isn't. So I was very disappointed with this movie the first time I saw it. And I didn't see it from the beginning. I don't remember exactly when I went, because at first I'd wondered if I'd missed two of the super monsters, but that didn't make any sense. So it took me a couple of years to get over that. I never valued it as much as some of the others, but I do now, even with a ending that's kind of, what you see. So Godzilla's wrapped up pretty darn tightly in this, in a cocoon, literally. Oh. So when they get there, they yell out for the teacher, whose name is Miss Kobayashi. Now, it seems to me Miss Kobayashi got her and her kids into an unwinnable situation, don't you think? But fortunately, they didn't count on Mothra, or the grubs. Mothra 1 and Mothra 2. I think that in the battle where you saw the one that bit Godzilla on the tail and got thrown about, that's probably why there was only one for the next movie. They never really explained it, but I think that one just took a beating and it was kind of a spare. There he goes. Over the edge. While the girls are telepathically telling the grubs how to fight, the twins there. All the kids don't even, they know where to look, except for this one who's just staring off into nothing. Good job, dude. At least some of the kids. Maybe he's looking up, kind of, I guess, but he's over looking toward that way. There he goes, over the cliff. And he can't get out. That tensile strength of that must be Spider-Man level. Just that Tony Stark, how strong it is. And there you have it. Godzilla versus the Thing. It's a great trailer, it really is. So the twins the grubs are triumphant. Godzilla's under the water until another year. Well, actually, later on this year, 64, Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, will show up. We'll get to that. That's one of my favorites. That's got 4 titanic monsters in it, even if one is one of the grubs. But I have a story about that too. You couldn't see these movies anytime you wanted. Couldn't get screen grabs like this. There they go with the twins. They're a little out of scale too. Perched on top of them because they teleported out there. Prove me wrong. And our heroes wave goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. And then you get this Gloria. That is a recreation. That's not the end title card, the original one. But it looks nice. Oh, and Godzilla did eventually fight the Thing, the real Thing, who right there. He's getting bopped right in the stomach. He also fought the rest of the Fantastic Four and S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers. I do really love that Marvel comic series. We should review that sometime. And there's the issue you can buy on Amazon. Godzilla. It's all about Godzilla versus the Thing. It's got me and three great authors and me writing for it. That was from last year, and I'm really proud of that one. So, my fellow agents, that is our review for today. Hopefully, Toho won't come after me the way somebody did for Samson and the Vampire Women. They took it down. It's gone. Alas, but lesson learned. All right. So, my fellow agents, just be careful about vampire women. They'll come get you. They'll bite you in the end or somewhere. Until our next assignment, this is X7 signing off.
It looks innocent as a gigantic egg, but its unseen powers are so great that its worshippers beg the Thing's indulgence in self-abasing ceremonies.